fellow barbarians. It is I, Alan Odinson. You are listening to the Barbarian Lounge podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. We've got a pretty interesting subject lined up today, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. But let's get a few things out of the way real quick before we get started, as we always have to. Our website, you can check us out at thebarbarianlounge.com. You can go there, check out our store. We're going to first of the year, we're going to get some new products in the store section, but all those purchases there help support this show. Right now, we've got the line of Mora knives, some different tourniquets, the cat tourniquet, the rat's tourniquet. If you don't have a tourniquet, don't carry a tourniquet on you daily. You are making a huge mistake, especially if you are someone who carries a firearm on a daily basis. Let me tell you, you are making a vast horrible mistake if you are not doing that. Everyone believes they will not get shot, and they always think they're going to turn into Neo in the Matrix when bullets start flying. But let me tell you, that shit doesn't happen. And there's no reason, there's no excuse to be not carrying a personal tourniquet on you at all times. No reason at all. I talked to a guy a few days ago, and he was talking about his medical gear, and he was like, he's like, oh yeah, I usually keep that. I have medical gear, but I usually keep that stuff in the truck. And I'm like, well, that's great if you get shot in your truck, but you know, you need to keep your medical gear on you. If you don't have it on you, it's not doing you any good sitting in your vehicle. So please go there and check that out. You can also find our line of T-shirts that we have. A lot of different shirts. We've got the Bill the Butcher shirt up there. The what is it? The barbarism quote from from the its name slipped in my mind. I should kick myself in the face for not knowing this right off the top of my head. From the author of the Conan novels. Jeez, I'll remember it in a minute and it'll drive me crazy. But we've got those shirts up there. We've got the Blackbeard pirate shirt on there with the awesome quote on the back. A lot of different shirts. I don't even remember half of them that are in there because we've got a good bit. And remember, each of those purchases helps support the show. Also, you can check out and subscribe to our host website at thebarbarianlounge.podbean.com. Go there, give a subscription. You can keep up to date. You can also become a member on our Patreon site. That's patreon.com/thebarbarianlounge. What you do is you go there and donate. You can donate whatever amount you want. We got some wonderful individuals who have donated as much as $5. But a lot of people just do what they can, and they'll donate, say, $1. And basically what you do is that donation goes on a per episode basis. So what you will get is you will get all of our shows that we do, all of our regular shows, which is 4 regular shows a month. We do no more than 4 of those. So you'll get that early ahead of everybody else. Plus, you will also get 4 additional shows that are members only. You can only listen to these shows if you are a member of our Patreon site. You can do it for as little as $1 per episode. So at the end of the month, we will not, I can tell you right now, my guarantee, we do not do more than $8 or 8 episodes per month. So that comes up to an $8 donation, a $8 donation to say thank you for the work, thank you for the material you've been giving us, and we're giving back. Remember, those are always on per episode basis. So if I only am able to do a total of 6 episodes a month, guess what? $6. So this inspires me to work to bring you the content, and also from you it says, hey, thanks Odinson for the work that's going on. And all those donations, man, they help keep the lights on, they keep me running, and allow me to do this as I do it. I love to continue to take this show further and further. This is our inaugural year in the Barbarian Lounge. This podcast has not been up for, I think I started it around April. I think it was around April when I started the show. And, you know, we've been growing really well in ratings and everything. And 2017, as it stands so far, is looking very promising for the Barbarian Lounge. We've already got a couple of speaking engagements that I will not talk about just yet, just because some of our Antifa people who, let me tell you something, if you don't think Antifa is attacking this show, let me tell you, I can tell you some behind the scenes stuff that's been going on, and you wouldn't believe it. But I've got some speaking engagements lined up that I'm keeping under wraps because I don't want to have to kick the shit out of any Antifa that show up there. And let me tell you something, Antifa, if you show up to anything I'm speaking at and you want to do your little bullshit where you're throwing piss and all this other nonsense that you do, let me tell you something. I'm not like one of these little motherfuckers that just goes and complains somewhere. I'm probably going to knock your teeth completely down your throat. You will be shitting teeth for probably about a week. So I'm doing this not only for my safety and the people there, but I'm doing it for your safety, Mr. Antifa communist shitheads. So you guys look for that. I'll probably post in the video. I say probably. I'll be posting the video and also the audio of the speaking engagements that I do. So I think you guys will enjoy it. But as I was saying, for our members, man, I'm telling you, that stuff really helps. And I may make some of those talks members only, so we'll see how that plays out. So if you're a member, please tell other people. Tell other people about the stuff you're getting on there. I get a lot of really good messages from people telling me. They're like, man, I listen to this show with my son and all these things like that, and it's really helping us through a lot of stuff. And man, let me tell you something, guys. I love to hear that. The comments you guys are putting on the Podbean app. A lot of people download the Podbean app. You don't necessarily have to do that, but those people who do download the Podbean app, they're leaving comments on there, and I read all of them, and I thank you guys. Every single one of those I read, any suggestions, all that stuff. I take all that stuff into consideration because, you know what, this show is here, and if you guys weren't listening, it would just be me sitting here by myself talking to a mic with my trusty cup of Mitacon. Yes, Mitacon. It's sponsor time, folks. Mitacon. I got my cases in the other day from my fellas out in Texas, and I thank you, Mr. Ben, for getting that out my way. So Mitacon, the energy within, one of our sponsors. Mitacon is not an energy drink. It is a drink that is designed to help get you moving on the mitochondrial level. It's not full of sugars. It's not full of all these excitotoxins that get you riled up and everything. Even though I sound riled up all the time, trust me, my friends, this is just me on a daily basis. If you hung around me and you get me going, especially if you put the stick in front of me, you give me that mic, put it in my hand, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get full Odinson all day long. So don't think it's some kind of caffeine high that I'm on right here. No. This is just a high on life. And I'm thankful for drinks like Mitacon that allow me to actually stay focused. That's one of the great things about the Mitacon that I find. I don't take it for any sort of energy boost or anything like that. I don't do that. I'll take it for recovery because it does help me tremendously recovering from my workouts and everything. I don't have as much soreness and I can just keep moving. But the main thing that Mitacon does for me is it allows me to stay focused. Because let me tell you, I have kind of a wild mind, man. You hear me talk here, and sometimes I'll get going really fast and everything gets all jumbled and all over the place. And let me tell you, that's just the way my mind works. And a lot of times my mouth is trying to keep up with my brain, and it can be very, very difficult to do. So Mitacon allows me to keep that focus, keep me striving forward, and keep me in line, I guess you could say. Our other sponsor, Odinson Archery. Traditional bows made from non-traditional materials. You can go there, check it out. Right now, I'm neck deep in Christmas orders. I've got all the ones that I guaranteed people would make it out before Christmas. I just shipped my last ones off today, so that will be on the way. And all you other guys that I haven't talked to or that I talked to about getting your orders out, well, let me just tell you, I'm working on them, and you still may have them before Christmas. Just depends on how the Postal Service is going to run, how fast I can work, how fast I can keep everything going the way it's going right now. Let me tell you, I've been quite busy, and I love it because busy means money. Busy means it means that I'm moving forward and my business is moving forward, and I'm very thankful. I'm thankful for all the people out there. I'm thankful for the gods for blessing me, and that's one of the reasons that I'm setting up right now to. I kind of thought about it a little bit, but I'm setting up to do several different things for Yule coming up, which for us of the heathen path, the also true path, the ways of the old North, the Norse that begins on December 20th, and you know, I got a few things lined up just to thank the gods for everything, all the blessings that they have gotten. You know, a lot they've given me. And I say they've given me, I ask the gods for guidance. I never ask the gods to give me things, because that's not the way of the heathen path. It's not the way of Asatru. It's not what we're built off of. Maybe some of you faggots out there in the world of that universalist Asatru stuff. Maybe that's your thing. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe you're always asking the gods and begging for this and begging for that, and you got this whole universalist mentality. Well, that's not the path I follow. You know, I ask the gods for guidance. I ask them for blessings, and everything else is up to me. You know, I'm not of the Obama mindset of if you got that business. No one, you didn't do that yourself. Somebody helped you do that. Fuck you. Let me tell you something. I have bled, sweat, my body aches sometimes just to get the stuff done that I've had to get done, and I'm wide open 7 days a week. There's no days off. There's no days off. So, you know, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all that, and you know, with Yule coming up right now, I thought I would talk about our topic here. And our topic today is going to be on immortality. We're going to be talking about the secrets of immortality. And this thought process, it was spawned from a conversation I had the other night. I met with some family, some of my folk, if you will. We sat down, had a great feast. We're telling stories of our ancestors, telling stories of people who are no longer with us, family members who have moved on, friends who have moved on to another existence. We were talking about them, and this idea popped in my head. I started thinking about immortality, because a lot of my family, they don't follow Asatru or heathenism, whatever you want to call it. Some people are kind of weird about what they call it. I don't really give a shit. I know what it is. But a lot of people, you know, a lot of people in my family, they're not Asatru. They're Christians, and that's a strong portion of my family. And, you know, there's some that don't like me for what I am, but there's a lot of them who do, and those are the ones I associate with. And we were talking about these things. We were talking about immortality, and we were talking about, you know, the secrets of truly living forever, because some of my family members that I was hanging out with, they have difficulty in different members of the family they've lost. Even people who are really close to me, such as my father, such as my grandfather. We talked about them, and you know, they have a lot of trouble letting them go. And we had this long conversation about immortality and what it means to truly be immortal. And you know, I thought about all those things. I said, you know what? I'm going to do an episode on this, because this is important. This is very important for anybody. Doesn't matter what you are, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a heathen, whether you're a fucking Buddhist. I won't say Muslim, because fuck you, Muslim. But yeah, I don't know if I have any Muslims listening to this show, but if you listened to me before, you probably don't like this show. So I feel like I could get away with that. It doesn't matter who you are. It's these things are universal. The concept of immortality has always been something that's universal throughout cultures, throughout societies, for as far back as we can think of. I think as far as recorded history is, even maybe some unrecorded history, even through stories and tales, there's always this concept of immortality. You have very similar stories everywhere. And I wanted to discuss a few of the things we talked about with my family, my folk, and our little feast we had. First, let's talk about from a spiritual standpoint. I'm not going to get particularly spiritual here, but I do want to discuss this aspect just from a mindset standpoint. A lot of people, for those of you who don't know, I was once I still got the little certificate, I guess you could say, licensure, I don't know what it would be called, but I was once an ordained Christian minister. And I moved on from that, and it was funny because what made me move on from that, I'll tell this little story real quick. What made me move on from that was I was doing a sermon on other religions. growing up the way I did, I was always questionable about things, but I started researching other religions because I wanted to do a sermon on them. And I started researching those, and I was like, damn, maybe I don't know the full story here. And it led me to look for other things, and my spiritual journey is quite the interesting one. But, here I am. So when I think about things from a Christian standpoint, and I'm not bashing Christians at all in any of this, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of friends who are Christian, family who are Christian, as I just mentioned, a lot of very close people to me who are Christian. This is not going to be a Christian bashing thing here. But one of the things that I find a lot of times in the Christian faith is their concept of afterlife, their concept of heaven. You've got your good people go to hell, I'm sorry, your good people go to heaven and your bad people go to hell. And there's this concept where I tend to find a lot of times that leaves people in a stagnant position. First off, your afterlife tends to be based off of, for heaven at least, tends to be based off of these good deeds you do for other people and things you do for other people. And don't get me wrong, that's very important. But a lot of times it leads to this kind of humble existence where it's like, oh, we do this and live a humble life and you'll go to heaven, and then don't have a lot of worldly possessions, and you don't need to necessarily seek vengeance. You don't need to seek revenge on people here because they'll get theirs. When they die, they'll go to hell. And then, so it tends to lead to this passive life, a life that tends to be basically you spend your whole life wasting it to build your world in the afterlife. That tends to be what I find. And no, it's not. I'm not putting a blanket statement out for all Christians, because I have some examples I'm going to talk about that absolutely do not fit that bill. But I tend to find that a lot of Christians today focus entirely on the afterlife. And it creates a stagnant type of existence. That's been my experience with a lot of people that I've dealt with who are Christians. They're like, oh, well, you get this whole idea now, well, when things are getting really bad in the country, they're like, well, the Bible says that things are going to get really bad before the Lord comes back. And I'm like, so you're just going to sit here and based on a book and wait on the shit to just crumble down. Your children are going to be eradicated. Your culture is going to be destroyed. All these things are going to happen. You're just going to sit there because the Lord's coming back, right? Oh, I don't really need to build anything here because, the Lord's going to come back. And it ends up being this whole existence based off of waiting for the afterlife. Now, one of the things that really appealed to me from the Asatru path or the heathen path is with the concept of Valhalla. And real quick, a lot of people, when they think about an afterlife for the Norse people, the Vikings, if you will, they always go Valhalla right off the bat. Go to Valhalla, die and go to Valhalla. You hear that all the time. Well, one of the things is I always, when I hear the term die and go to Valhalla, I look at it quite differently. And of course, you talk to Asatru people, man, they'll give you a ton of different definitions for this. But first off, not everybody's going to Valhalla. Just from the pantheon of the Norse religions, you had the people that died in battle. They were split. You had half went with Odin to Valhalla. Those people tended to be the elite, more elite of the warriors, the ones who died, who fought valiantly and died with honor. And the other half actually was taken by Freya. And they went, instead of going to Valhalla, they went to, I might be butchering this, because a lot of people don't talk about this, but they went to, I think it was Folkvang. I think that was how it was. It's something of that nature. Probably some Asatru people hearing this and pulling their hair out. I messed it up. But basically, the gist of the matter is half went with Odin, half went with Freya. And then there was even another place where people who just died of old age or whatever that did not die in battle, where they went. So there was a lot of different places you could go. But the one thing that everybody was really striving for was to get to Valhalla. Valhalla was this was this place where the Einherjar would go, and they would tell stories of the things they did in life, and they would fight and train every day, and then they would feast at night with the gods. But the thing is they could not get there based off of life of mediocrity. Their entire afterlife was based on their story, their deeds. What did you do in life? Did you fight violently? Were you courageous? Were you a man of honor? All these things come into effect to create the place that you would have for yourself there. And there was no guarantee you were going to get there. There was no guarantee. You may even fight valiantly, but you may not make it. Nobody wanted to be that guy that died in his bed. They didn't want to be that guy. I think it was the first season of Vikings, which was probably one of the best seasons they ever had. They kind of started dying off a little bit later. Not too great, but the first season of Vikings, there's a scene with the old man, and the old man comes up to Ragnar Lothbrok, and he says, I've been in many, many battles throughout my life, and I'm an old man now, and many of my friends have died and went to Valhalla, and I don't have the ability anymore to go into battle. I don't go into battle. Nobody will take me into battle anymore, and not a spear has ever touched me, even though I fought valiantly, and I just want to go to Valhalla. Can I go with you and raid? And they take him with him, and spoiler alert, he dies in battle, and supposedly goes to Valhalla. And, I think about that. Nobody wanted to be that guy that died in his bed sickly and just couldn't make it anymore and just withered away. Nobody wanted to be that guy. They always wanted to be the guy that lived a large life and was able to, through his deeds, to get to that afterlife. But the thing is, you had to be courageous. You had to be a guy who was willing to live an elite existence. What type of person were you? What type of things did you do? I've talked about this a lot on this show. A lot. I've talked about basically what sort of legacy you're going to leave. What sort of story are you going to tell? And I can honestly say this is not something that's always been on my mind when I was growing up. And I wish there were shows like this. I wish there were shows like The Pressure Project and books like Jack Donovan wrote and things like that I could look at that would give me this whole idea of, you know what? I need to tell my story, and I need to start telling it soon. I beat myself every day thinking of the fact of how long it took me to start telling my story. And, when I think about the afterlife, from a also true standpoint, our entire goal of afterlife is not based on getting there. Our entire goal for afterlife is doing something worth being recognized to earn the place to get there. And this causes a life of constant motion, a constant building here on this planet right now. Because no matter what anybody wants to tell you, life is for the living, death is for the dead. Plain and simple. Too many people get focused on what's going to happen after they die. Where am I going to go? Did I do this right in life? Did I do that right in life? There should be no question of that. What did you build while you were here? That will decide your level of immortality. Because even though I'm talking on a spiritual level right now, that same statement, what you do here decides your level of immortality, expands even further to your legacy that you leave here on this planet. What you leave here in Midgard, if you will. What do you leave here? What will be the legacy that you leave? I'm of the mentality, I've done a lot of research and stuff on different people. You guys have listened to my episodes on pirate culture and everything, and I always go back a lot of times to Blackbeard. And when I read that story, I respect a lot of the things he did on many different levels. One of the things I really respect that I've talked about many times before is the fact that, Blackbeard was only doing what he did for a few years. I mean, I think it was 4 or 6 years, somewhere around that level, 4 to 6 years. That's it. And everybody knows who he is. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about is in just a few minutes. I've got some things written down. I've got 7 different aspects to maintaining immortality on this planet. How will you become immortal? Because at the end of the day, true immortality is not based off of where you go in the afterlife. As I said, life is for the living, death is for the dead. When you're dead, that's on this planet, on this existence, in Midgard, Earth, whatever you want to call it, your story stops from your standpoint. You have no control of your story after that. Your story stops right there. The only way that you maintain a level of immortality is to keep that story going. And the only way to do that is based on what you did before you died. It doesn't have any, once you're dead, that's it. Your new story begins. The door to the afterlife is only one person wide. And only you can walk through it by yourself. It's a journey you will have to take by yourself. You don't have to necessarily walk the path to get there alone, but it is a journey you will take by yourself. I remember talking to my father. This was several months before he passed away. And we were talking. It was like 3 in the morning. He called me when I was at work, when I was working night shift, doing security. And he called me, and we talked for a long time. One of the best talks we ever had. And we were talking about the afterlife. And, you know, my father was a minister, Christian man, and he was afraid. He was afraid of the afterlife. And, you know, we talked about it. And, you know, and I remember telling him that exact thing. I said, you know, I said, the unfortunate thing is you have to prepare yourself for what's going to happen. Because he knew he didn't have much time left. And as did I. And I said, unfortunately, you're going to have to prepare yourself for what's coming. Because the journey to the afterlife, the entrance door is only one person wide. You can only go by yourself. And that's true. But the thing is once you pass through that door, your story stops there in this realm. But the only way to maintain immortality here is what you did before that. What did you do to be remembered? You know, our lives are meant to be that as someone who lives as a conqueror. And that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, walking around conquering other people and beating the shit out of them and taking land. That's not what I mean by that. Conquering life in general. Being in control of your life. Being in control of your financial freedom. Being in control of how your family goes. Honoring all these different things. Those are all things you can absolutely control. Those are things you can conquer. Conquering life is something that a lot of people just don't do. Oh, I want to live a humble existence. No. No. Just think about how many people do not build themselves up to their potential. The potential you have. I think whenever I see, and you know, I get flack from my wife a lot of times, but you know, I'll see like a completely morbidly obese individual. And, you know, I just kind of snarl my nose and I'm like, she's like, I'll stop being mean. I said, look, that person has completely squandered their life. The temple that is their body, they have filled it full of shit, and now they are not living their lives at their potential. To that person, I have no respect for. In our lives, the true way, as I talked about just a few minutes ago, Valhalla was designed for the elite. And some people may not see Valhalla that way. This is the way I think of it. Valhalla is designed for the elite of the elite. Those who are worthy to sit at the same table, train next to Odin, Thor, you know, a lot of the other great men of history, great warriors of history. You've been selected. You've been selected by the Allfather to stand next to him at Ragnarok. Think about that. Think about the mentality behind that. You've been selected for what you've done, your valor, your courage, your honor. These are the things respected by the gods. If you want to be at that table, you have to be the elite of the elite. Not only on the field of battle, but also on the field of life. In our lives, we need to celebrate that which makes us elite amongst mere mortals. People ask me a lot of times, I'm lifting heavy weights and stuff, why do you want to lift that much? I always say, without skipping a beat, I say, because other people do not. That's exactly it. Because other people do not. That's why I do it. Why do you want to climb Mount Everest? Because other people do not. Why do you want to be an archer who can shoot an aspirin out the air? Because other people do not. That's why. Why do you want to do? Because other people do not. Imagine if everyone took that mentality that I will do things because other people do not do them, and they say they can't do them, but I will prove to you they can be done. It makes you the elite amongst men, the elite amongst mere mortals. To have dominion over this planet, dominion over yourselves. Think about that. Think about the society we live in, the self-centered society, this society of people who are just caught up in themselves, got their heads crammed in iPhones and all this other nonsense, but they let themselves go to waste. They get caught up in this world. They get caught up in all the little knickknacks and all these other technological things and all the bullshit of this world. They get caught up in even though I think that, things that are going on in the world are important, but let's be honest. At the end of the day, when you die, do you give a shit about Donald Trump? Do you give a shit about Hillary Clinton? No. What did you build? What did you leave here? What makes you the elite amongst mere mortals? In the end, when it's all said and done, in the end, when you're sitting on your deathbed, what matters? What matters to you? If you were dying right now, what would matter to you? Once you know that answer, that gives you clarity. That gives you a clarity of what needs to be done right now. You see, I don't look at death and say to myself, well, I hope I'm going to heaven. I don't look at things that way. That's not the way I look at it. When I look at the concept of death, everybody, what do they say, in a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everybody drops to 0? At the end of the day, it's coming. It's something you're going to have to face one day. What will you leave here? What is important to you on that deathbed? Once you figure out what's important for you, what you want to leave, the legacy you leave, that is where your energy needs to go. So let's talk real quick here. I'm fired up, guys. Let me tell you. This is something I talked about the other night with my family, and we're sitting in kind of a public venue, and I'm trying to be cool, but what can I say? I come from a family of Southern Baptist preachers, and my inner preacher gets riled up, So, these are things that are important, man. And let's talk real quick. Let's talk about the keys to being immortal. Let's talk about immortality here, the here and now. Remember, life is for the living, death is for the dead. We want to live a life. How do you live a life that will make you an immortal when you're gone? First thing, number one that I have written down here on this nice little list of mine, I don't normally write shit down, but is number one is live a life worth remembering. Plain and simple. I know that sounds simple. Well, duh, live a life worth remembering. But who remembers a slave? Who remembers a slave? There's been millions upon billions of slaves throughout history. Tell me something. The slaves that helped build the pyramids, name a few of them for me. You don't know any of them, do you? Do you know who Ramesses is? You know who Tutankhamun is? You've heard of those people, right? So, who remembers the slave? Who remembers that person who was willing to live their life, go along to get along, do what I got to do to get by. I just want to get this day over with so I can get home. Please, leave me alone, right? Man, look here. I just want to go to work. I want to do my 9 to 5. When I get done, I want to come home. I just want to grab me a beer, sit down, and watch a little TV. Is that what you want to do? You're a slave. You will be forgotten. I tell you that right now. Your existence will last maybe a few generations, and then you will be forgotten. No one remembers the slave. No one remembers the person that goes along to get along. Nope. Who do they remember? They remember movers and shakers. People who are willing to shake things up. People that are willing to put themselves out there. People who are willing to do great things. And trust me, in order to do anything great, you're going to have to put yourself out there. You know, they remember people who go places. People who leave their mark when they go there. That's the type of people who get remembered. A lot of us, man, and trust me, man, I'm not sitting here cross-legged speaking to you from a mountaintop, you know, being some type of guru telling you, oh, this is how you do it. No, I'm not telling you that. No. This was me once. I was that person. If you're one of those people who go along to get along, where you're sitting at right now listening to me, I was once you. But I didn't have nobody at the other end of a mic telling me the types of things that I'm telling you right now. They didn't exist at the time. If they did, I couldn't find them. No, I was just interested in going along, get along. And, there's a lot of me, a lot of my story that could have started earlier. Just because I didn't have somebody there to push it. Push me along. Come on. Go. A lot of people in my family, my father in particular, great man, respect him greatly. He was always a go along to get along kind of person. Did he do things worth remembering? Yes, he did. Could he have done more? Absolutely. So it's important for us to constantly wake up every day thinking to ourselves that we need to live a life worth remembering. Even if you're somebody that has a 9 to 5, there's still things you can do. There's still possibilities for you to change your stars. I don't have those answers for you because I'm not in your situation. But trust me, there's a way you can do it. There's a way you can pull yourself out of that role as slave and move yourself up to that of conqueror. But you have to figure that out. You have to figure that out for yourself. I can't give you those answers. I can tell you that right now. Anyone who says they can give you those answers is full of shit. You have to work that out for yourself. Because you know your situation. You know your work situation. You know your situation at home. You handle that. But if you do not start pulling yourself out of that role of slave, start loosening those chains, break them loose, you will be forgotten. And you will die along with your body. This meat sack that carries your soul in it, your spirit, your story will die with it if you do not break those chains. Number 2, quite easily, quite simple one here. Write your story. And that's a lot we were talking about earlier. But you have to be somebody that's worth being talked about. I mean, if you think about it, you have to be somebody that's worth being talked about. Nobody wants to talk about a guy who was a piece of shit. If they do want to talk about him, your legacy will be that of shit. You know, if you think about, I think about people I've dealt with in the past, and they live their life as a greedy individual who wants to cheat everybody, and they have no honor, and you know what? When they die, that's what they'll be known as. So you need to start setting up the context your story will be told in. Do you live a life of honor? Are you a virtuous individual? That's one of the things. Those are two of the big things that are missing, especially honor. Honor is a huge one. A lot of people just don't really have a really good code of honor. And yeah, that code of honor will vary amongst individuals, but there's a lot of people who just don't really adhere to one. It's just kind of, well, I do what I'm going to do because I'm going to get mine. Let me tell you something. I can't stand to hear people say, "Oh, I'm going to get mine." Well, I'm going to get what's mine. Let me tell you something, motherfucker. Nothing is yours. Nothing's owed to you. I always talk about, me and my wife. We were watching on our Roku box the other day. We were watching the show Alone, where they drop these people off somewhere, and basically you last as long as you can, and you quit when you can't take it anymore, and you don't hardly have shit out there. And this is a pretty treacherous area that they're in. And I told her these people were out there, and I told her we were watching it, and I said, right now, everything they have for them, everything they have is owed to them and is fair. Because they have nothing out there, and what's fair is what's going to happen. There's no such thing as anything being fair. Fair is what's going to happen. What's owed to you is nothing. The only way those people survive there is through the work they do, through the deeds they do. And, you know, one of the things of writing your story is actually being willing to put yourself in really bad situations sometimes. Things that scare you. I always tell people, man, if you're gonna write a story worth remembering, you're gonna have to put yourself in situations that you find frightening, that you don't think you can handle. But then again, that goes right back to making yourself the elite amongst the elite. Are you willing to do things that other people are not willing to do? When you truly have lined up a great story about yourself, when you've lived a life where you've been an example, you've lived a life of honor, you've been virtuous, you've done great things, you've inspired other people, that story that you've written for yourself, when you've created a good story throughout your life, your stories will be told long after you're dead. Long after you're dead. You know, when we were talking as a family the other night, we were talking about, different people in our family, and I was talking about my granddad, my father, and I was saying, you know, with my granddad, he's been dead for many, many years now. And people still tell his stories like they just happened. And it's very interesting to see that. I know you guys have heard several stories I've told about him on here, and things that me and him have talked about, and different stuff that I picked up from him. And, you know, that's really how you want to build yourself up, man. You want to live a life and have stories and things that you do. He didn't create those stories by just sitting around, going along to get along. And no, he did things. He lived a larger than life existence almost. Number three, how to be immortal. Live as a lion, not as a lamb. And I'll go right back again in the context of talking about my grandfather and my father. When I was talking to my family the other day, we were discussing this very concept. And I was talking about my dad, and I said, my dad was always, he was a good man. People always described him as humble. And I always said that's not something I ever want people to describe me as. I don't want them to describe me as humble. And I remember my aunt, she piped up and she said, your dad was a lamb. He was a gentle lamb. And that's a very good way to put him, because he was a gentle soul. But he did live life as a lamb. He did do some great things, but like I always say in the realm of crafting, I am still, even though I'm good at what I do, from a crafting and building standpoint, I can build a lot of things and I can do all kind of stuff like that. I am the kindergarten student, and compared to my father, he is the college professor. Okay, I mean, he could build anything, and I say that from a literal standpoint. The man could build anything from scratch, from nothing, and but he never sold and never built a business out of any of that. And that's just the type of person he was. He had a lamb mentality. My grandfather, on the other hand, he lived as a lion. And what do I mean by that? My grandfather, he was one of those guys that when he walked into a room, even as an old man, he'd walk into the room and all eyes would go there, and people are like, man, there's something about that guy. It's almost kind of like an electric personality. A lot of people in my family tell me that out of all of the children and grandchildren, I'm the only one that really has that same mentality, that lion mentality, that when you walk into a room, people are like, who the fuck is that guy? They just want to know, because there's an air about you. There's an electricity. I didn't really discover it myself till I did professional wrestling. And I noticed, man, so they put the mic in my hand, they said, say something. And I was like, and then, the electricity hit. And before I knew it, these people were hanging on every word, and I would walk into the building and people were just clamoring. And even though I was a bad guy, they wanted to know more about me. They wanted to, man, I want to talk to that guy, all these things like that. I want to see him wrestle and all this stuff like that. And I was never the best in the world, but I had that electric personality to me. And there's a lot of people in life that we run into that are the same way. But my granddad, he would make something and he would sell it. He would start a business. One of his first businesses he used to do is he would drive to New York and get wholesale cars and bring them back, fix them up, and resell them. That's the type of guy he was. He was always an industrious individual. He was always buying this, reselling that, starting a business here, running a church, all these things. And that's just the mentality he had. And I think that's very important for your story being told. My father's been dead a lot less than my grandfather, but you're starting to find that some of my dad's stories are starting to get kind of clumped together with other things, and there's not a lot of people talking, but people are still talking about my granddad. And it's not because, one guy was greater than the other or anything like that, or one was nicer, no, it's not anything like that. It's just that my granddad, he did things, and he lived as a lion. And we have to do that ourselves. You have to start building an electric personality, and this mentality of a lion is something that can be learned. You can pick these things up. You can use them in your own life. You absolutely can. Some people will use the term of being they'll use a lamb or a sheep or whatever, and then they'll say, be a wolf or whatever. I don't like the mentality because a wolf tends to be a consumer. A wolf is someone who kind of moves along in the darkness and, attacks as a pack and takes what they can. When you see a lion, he has a level of majesticness to him. There's a sense of danger, but there's also a calm, cool, collective mentality to a lion, and that's kind of how you need to be. The lion, he's the protector of his tribe, if you will. It's not really a pack mentality as much, but with when you live as a lion, it's almost kind of like being, are you going to be a conqueror or are you going to be the conquered? If I were to break it out even further, a conqueror is someone who their goal is to dominate, whatever it may be, business, podcasting, the weight room, whatever it's going to be, the jiu-jitsu tournaments, whatever it is. The conqueror, he is there to win. He is there to win. The conquered, well, what is there? They're the loser. They're the guy that goes along and gets along. They are the steps. They are the steps that the conqueror steps on to get where he needs to go. So it becomes very important for us. You need to be someone who, you command attention. You just do. And you don't have to be some Milo Yiannopoulos type of individual who's just craving everyone. Look at me. That's not what I'm talking about. You should have people, when you walk into a room, if you are living your life as a lion, when you walk into a room, people want to know who you are. They do. You stand out. You stand out in the things you do. Even if you're not somebody who necessarily has a personality or a look that makes you stand out, when you walk into a room, if people know who you are, they say, like, hey, who's that guy? Oh, yeah, that's Odinson over there. Oh, Odinson. Alan Odinson. I've heard him on Barbarian Lounge, and I've got some of his stuff from Odinson Archery. That sort of thing has happened to me. It's happened to me in the past, surprisingly. And, this comes from, not from me just sitting around. I did that for many years, but it's all things that I've built, things that I'm doing. All of us, whether we want to think about it or not, we move through life in a herd. I hate to use the term herd because it tends to go towards sheep, but let's be honest. If there's a herd there, you need to be someone who's going to stand out in that herd. Someone who's not just going to blend right in with everybody else. Until you start doing that, your story may not ever be told. It may not ever be heard. Number 4, honor your ancestors. This is something that's also very important. A lot of us forget where we come from. And I think it's important to honor your ancestors and research the pieces that make you up. It's very important to do this. Because, if you do not do this, you are not carrying on the immortality of your bloodline, of your people, of your family. You're not carrying on their immortality. For many, many years, I did not know that my bloodline almost was gone during the Civil War. That my family fought with the South and nearly was wiped out. Their stories were never told to me. I had to find those for myself. And that is important. To honor your ancestors. Those are pieces of you. When you connect to those pieces, it makes you stronger. It absolutely makes you stronger. I think about there's a game, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, called Assassin's Creed. And in Assassin's Creed, you go around and you pick up these little animus objects or something during the missions or whatnot. And each of those things is like a fragment of your memory. And the more of those you pick up, the stronger you get, and the more connected with your ancestor you become. And that's the way I look at this a lot of times. Each time you grab a little fragment of yourself, of your ancestors, it makes you stronger. It helps you to connect. It creates a holistic view of who you are. This also allows you to tell their stories. Make sure they don't die. You need to know their stories. Pass them on. That's one of the things I've been doing a lot, is trying to spread those stories to even members of my family so they can pass them on to their children, so they know where we come from, where our family come from, how we fought tooth and nail to establish this land, how we were willing to die, how we're willing to die for our country at the time that was the Confederate States of America, before we were invaded by the North. It's important to do this. We're all of us are made of pieces. There's a puzzle. We're basically like a puzzle. And every time we grab those pieces and begin to put them together, we start completing that puzzle. And, all the pieces that make you up, you're going to find that there's elements of you that you can embrace in the things you do, in the even the tasks you do in life, the things you pick up. There's things you can do to start really solidifying your legacy through those stories, through the stories of your ancestors, through that connection that you establish through those ancestors. You will be amazed at the things you can pick up from that. I found some things in my past. It's amazing, just connected to my Southern heritage, exactly what that has brought me. I've also talked about in the past how I've got some blood from Native American side. And that's important to me as well. You always hear these guys, especially amongst a lot of the white supremacist group. I laugh at white supremacists. I'm sorry, guys. I support white nationalists, but white supremacists, you guys need to really think about what you're doing, because I seriously doubt that you're. I've met several white people in my life who are not supreme to anything. You're all made of pieces. If you think you're some pure blood something or another, you're full of shit. You're made of pieces. And if you deny those pieces and you do not connect with each of those pieces in some way, shape, or form, you are doing yourself a disservice. You are doing your ancestors a disservice. Because where you're at now is based off of something that they did in their lives. Because they were willing to do what they did and willing to live their life, you're here. It is absolutely the height of retardation if you do not honor them. Number 5, honor your folk. Honor your folk. So what does that mean? I got to thinking about this the other day when I was thinking about, I was seeing some of these little dipshit Antifa communists hanging out with the Black Lives Matter guys and yelling at people, yelling at white people. These are white people yelling at white people, saying that, oh, you're a fucking white male. Check your white privilege. And it's like, you just want to take a mirror to these guys and say, take a fucking look here. Take a look. Because at the end of the day, let me tell you something, motherfuckers. If the shit ever does kick off, you're going to find real quick that you're not one of the homies like you think you are. Okay? There's a lot right now, especially, I see it mostly amongst Europeans, European whites. There's a lot of hatred of Europeans by Europeans. Hatred of whites by whites. And that is a great disservice to your people, to your culture. A lot of people do not think there's a culture. I've heard people, oh, what's European culture? European culture is vast. European culture has built empires. European culture has put a lot of you fucking crackers where you are right now. You know, I get so sick of seeing these people who are trying to work with Black Lives Matter groups who are sitting there telling us on a daily basis we need to start doing something about white people and whiteness is a disease and all this shit like that. And then you got white people standing behind them going, clapping. I'll tell you something. You need to be proud of who you are. And I know the media will tell you don't be proud. Oh, you can't have white pride. That's a bad thing, right? But let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with being proud of who you are because, again, this is a piece of you. And when you start taking that piece and destroying it, destroying the very being of what you are, if you're a white person, no matter what pieces you're made of, it's obvious that the dominant gene in you is based off of a European gene, correct? So when you smash that down, you're taking most of what you're made of and stomping it in the dirt. What is that doing for your bloodline? What is that doing for what you're made of? You will be forgotten. You deserve to be forgotten. You do. It is very important right now for everybody. I know I started talking about whites here, but most of it's directed towards whites because Asians have plenty of pride in their culture. Blacks obviously do. Hispanics do as well. But you find this mental illness of believing that you can't have any pride in being white because, slavery and whatnot, right? Yeah, talk to the Arabs about that shit. Slavery is all over the world. It has been of all races. So they try and instill this white guilt because they want to destroy this identity that makes us who we are, part of our culture. I was talking to my family the other night, and they were saying, I understand, we all bleed red, we're all human beings and everything. And I stopped them right there and I said, yes, but we are all different. But that difference is the spice of life. We don't want everybody being exactly the same. People aren't made to be exactly the same. What a boring world that would be. So to sum all this up, very simply, the key to immortality, don't get caught up in this idea of creating this world where you're just doing what you got to do to make it to the afterlife, right? Oh, I just got to do it. I got to do all this to get to heaven. Got to do all this to get to heaven, and I got to be in church every day to do this and do that. And I love you, my Christian friends. I do, but every day that you're wasting worrying about death is another day that you're not living. You find that a lot of the cultures and stuff that worship death, that worship the idea of a good death, a glorious death, you tend to find those to be the people who are some of the most industrious, some of the most ambitious, some of the people who leave the biggest mark on our world. The key to immortality is not about making it to the afterlife. We don't know what happens when we get there. Everybody's got a clue, but nobody knows, right? The only thing you have control over is what you do here. The story that will be told about you when you're gone. That's what you have control over. What will your story be? Will it be that of a conqueror? Or will it be that of someone who was conquered?